I'm Jackie, and this is my testimony. I grew up in an agnostic household. There wasn't much religion other than going to my grandma's house and maybe going to church with her on occasion. I had 4 sisters growing up, so I was one of 5 girls. I was the middle child, and we were a very, very close family. My parents were happily married throughout my childhood, and we were very close until I was 12 years old, and my older sister Katie passed away. She was in a car accident where she was in a car with some of her friends, and it got hit by a train, and they all ended up passing away. And after that, everything changed. My parents, especially my mother at that time, really struggled with the death of my sister and kind of threw herself into drinking. And that was really hard on the family. My oldest sister had already moved out, so now by this time it was just me and my 2 younger sisters. And my parents' marriage really struggled, and there was a lot of turmoil going on in the house at that time because there was just no answers. My parents didn't know God. They didn't know what happens after death. They struggled with what everyone struggles with whenever you don't know the answers. I remember my mom looking to books on how to about angels, and then mediums, how to talk to those that have passed, and she just really struggled with not knowing. And so things became very difficult in the house, and there was a lot of, my parents fought a lot, and it was very, very difficult for those of us that were left there. When I was 14, I started getting into drinking and parties myself, and by the time I was 16, I moved out of the house and moved in with a boyfriend whose family was very into drinking and all of that. And even though I was only 16, I just joined right in with everything that was going on there. So that became very much a part of my life. I went through that relationship lasted several years, but after that there was several relationships, and it was always kind of the same thing based on drinking. And when I was 25, I met a man, and within a year we had decided to get married. And we got married, and immediately I got pregnant, and that kind of shifted my life. So after that, the drinking stopped, and it was now we were going to have a baby. And it became very apparent that our marriage had been built on the sand. There was no true substance to it. And so the marriage, after my daughter was born, very quickly dissolved. He went back to his wife from a previous marriage, and now it was just me and my daughter. She was about 9 months old at that time, or 10 months old, and I remember feeling like a complete failure at 27 years old and being left alone with this new baby. I was just devastated, and I didn't know what to do. And the only thing I knew to do was go back to drinking, go back to that lifestyle, try and hide and cover up that pain like I'd always done in the past. And so that's what I did for about a year. And I dove into men and drinking, and there was a point where I pretty much drank every single day, even when it was by myself, which before it had always been with people at parties, and it was more of a social thing. And this time it became more of an addiction, I guess. It was every day. And then I remember one day I was at a friend's house and we were having drinks, and one of my younger sisters came over, and I knew at this point that she had been studying and she had been going to church, and it was on Saturdays, and I thought that was the weirdest thing ever. I thought, if you're going to go to church, at least do it on the right day. I thought Saturdays was just so odd, and so I made fun of her a lot for that. And but she had come over and I was having a drink, and out of nowhere, it was on a Friday night, I asked her, can I go to church with you tomorrow? And of course she said yes. And at the time I was like, why did I ask her that? And now I know it was the Spirit leading me. But I woke up the next day not feeling very well because I had been drinking the night before. But I'd made a commitment, so I got up and I put on my clothes, I put on my best clothes, and she came and picked me up and we went to church. And I remember just being blown away at all the young families, because it was always an old person thing whenever I was younger, that it was old people that went to church. And I saw a young couple there, and they kind of took me in and started talking to me, and they invited me over for a Bible study later that week. So later that week I went to their house and they made an amazing vegan meal for me that I was just blown away with. And then we sat down, and I remember the husband asking me, what do you want to know? And I said, well, I don't really have faith. I can't have faith to just believe in something without seeing it, without proof, without anything like that. And he said, okay. And we went through Daniel 2, and I was blown away. I had no idea that God gives us proof that He is true and His word is true, and that through prophecy He reveals that we don't have to have a blind faith, that we can be sure that His words are true. So I became Bible obsessed for the next year. All I wanted to do was study my Bible. Addictions were falling away like crazy. I stopped drinking. I stopped smoking. Everything lost its savor. All those things that I had been doing. And to my family and my friends that were around me, it was a complete shock. They didn't know what to do. I had completely changed. All of those relationships kind of revolved around drinking or talking in a way that the Lord convicted me was not the way that He desired me to speak. And so those relationships changed a lot, and it was a difficult first year. Actually, it was a difficult first several years because of those relationships changing with my parents and with my friends. But I knew the Lord convicted me if I would just hold on to Him, because if I let go, they would know that there's no power in God. So I held on to God. And since then, some of those relationships have started to slowly come back, and they've seen that the changes that I've made in my life are good, and they've started to desire that, and it's been amazing. God is so faithful. So after that, I just focused on being a good mother, and the Lord did backflips for me and my daughter, and to take care of us, because it's not easy being a single mom, but He took care of us, and He was faithful. And during that time, I remember people wanting to set me up with different people, and I said, no, the Lord is going to give me my husband. I knew that I couldn't judge a man's character. I had tried in the past and did a terrible job, so this time I was determined that God was going to choose my husband. And sure enough, one day a man came into church, and my sister told me, you're going to marry that man someday. And I did. One thing led to another. We courted for 5 months. We courted. We did not date. And the Lord made it clear through several providences over and over that this was the relationship that He desired us to have. And we got married. And now we have a son of our own. And the Lord is guiding our lives in an amazing way. I have never lived a more thrilling and exciting life than I live now. Every day is different, and the Lord is showing us new things every single day and bringing us amazing providences every day that are incredible. And I couldn't imagine having a more rich and fulfilling life than the one I have now following